In 1960, an earthquake struck Chile, causing a tsunami that hit the west coast of the United States. The waves were so large that they caused damage as far away as Alaska and Hawaii. But the worst part was still yet to come. A nuclear blast was detected over Los Angeles. Luckily, it wasn't from an atomic bomb. Otherwise, the city would have been completely obliterated. Instead, it was a hydrogen bomb. And although it wasn't aimed at America, if it had detonated just a few minutes earlier, Los Angeles would have been vaporized. They didn't know the wave was coming until it was already there. The epicenter was located about 110 miles or 180 kilometers from the nearest point in California. Luckily, this quake didn't cause much damage other than some broken dishes and toppled chimneys. But that would soon change. When the tsunami hit California, it caused extensive damage. But it wasn't the only disaster heading their way. At first, they assumed it was an aftershock, but it was actually a hydrogen bomb. The bomb exploded over the Pacific Ocean just off the coast of California, about 30 miles or 50 kilometers from the shore. The explosion was equal to 3.5 million tons of TNT and left a mushroom cloud 12 miles or 20 kilometers high. They had no idea where the explosion had come from, though. Grocery stores were quickly emptied out as people tried to stock up on potassium iodide tablets, which are supposed to help against radiation poisoning. The United States didn't have any nuclear bombs in the area. In fact, no one knew where the bomb came from for several days. They said the explosion was part of a nuclear test, but they didn't say which test. The United States had been conducting a series of nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands. The goal was to test the safety of nuclear weapons and develop new weapons. But one of the bombs accidentally flew off course and exploded off the coast of California. The bomb floated in the water for a few minutes before exploding. The explosion would have been so powerful that it would have caused widespread destruction for miles around. Radiation would have spread throughout the city and the surrounding areas, killing hundreds of thousands of people. It's a relief it exploded over the ocean and not a major city like Los Angeles. People were confused because they had never heard of a nuclear test being conducted off the coast of California. It was Saturday, July, and people were getting ready for a nice weekend. No one was killed and no major cities were destroyed. It was a close call, but the United States was lucky. That all changed when Captain James A. McWhorter of the 32nd Fighter Bomber Squadron at Hamilton Air Force Base in California saw the massive mushroom cloud rising above the horizon. In Crescent City, California, the wave was as high as 25 feet. Entire towns were wiped off the map and countless lives were lost. The tsunami continued to move north and eventually reached Russia. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. We can't wait to bring you more crazy stories. The wave destroyed piers, beaches, and buildings. But it wasn't until the wave hit Japan that things got really bad. The tsunami that hit California was not nearly as powerful as the one that hit Chile, but it still caused extensive damage. Just days later, another major earthquake struck, this time in California. It was actually intended to be dropped in the Marshall Islands for Operation Castle, a series of nuclear tests conducted by the U.S. military. In total, the tsunami killed more than 60 people and caused over $750 million in damage. That's why they didn't tell anyone that the bomb had exploded until 2 days after the fact. They didn't want other countries to know that the United States was secretly testing nuclear weapons. After the bomb exploded, radioactive debris rained down onto the west coast of the United States. If the public had known that a nuclear bomb had exploded off the coast of California, they would have panicked. Some people claimed the bomb was the result of the Cold War and the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union. Others claimed it was the result of a secret plot to build a doomsday device. The truth is, it was simply an accident. People would have been afraid to leave their homes, and the economy would have ground to a halt. For days, ash fell over California, Oregon, and Washington. But somehow, it mostly stayed out of the lungs of unsuspecting Americans. The U.S. Air Force had recently denied reports of nuclear fallout in the United States. That's why no one believed the captain when he told them about the giant mushroom cloud. They thought he was mistaken, but the plane carrying the bomb accidentally released it over the Pacific Ocean. Thankfully, no one was killed and the bomb exploded over the water instead of a densely populated area. Before we get into this crazy story, make sure to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our awesome videos. Also, wait till the end to learn how you could win one of these amazing mugs. This is considered to be one of the most powerful earthquakes in history. Tsunamis are giant waves caused by earthquakes under the ocean. They can travel across the entire ocean at speeds of up to 500 miles per hour. That's about 800 kilometers per hour. That speed allows them to cross entire oceans in just hours. The first wave of the tsunami reached Hawaii less than 4 hours after the earthquake. It was 50 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima and 3 times more powerful than the largest bomb ever detonated by humans, the Tsar Bomba. The earthquake lasted for nearly 10 minutes. During that time, the earth shook violently and people ran outside in terror. Then, even worse things happened. On May 22, 1960, a massive 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of Chile near a town called Valdivia. Buildings collapsed, fires broke out, and tsunamis headed toward the American West Coast. But while the people of Hawaii were able to take cover, the people living in California were completely caught off guard. People were still recovering from the first disaster when an 8.4 magnitude earthquake struck just off the coast of Cape Mendocino, California. Just after the earthquake, people felt another strong tremor. Luckily, the bomb wasn't aimed at California. It's hard to believe that hundreds of thousands of people could have died from the blast, but the radioactive fallout alone may have killed many more. In fact, no one even knew the bomb had exploded until 2 days later. He immediately reported what he'd seen to the base, but no one believed him. But then the United States Weather Bureau reported traces of radioactive iodine in the air, which confirmed that something had exploded. Meanwhile, the public was starting to panic. Citizens called the Red Cross and other organizations asking how to protect themselves from radiation poisoning. Then the truth came out. On July 27, 1960, the U.S. government released a statement admitting that a hydrogen bomb had exploded off the coast of California. Then, a few weeks later, the truth came out. So how did the bomb explode? You see, the United States military places great importance on keeping secrets, but they also had another good reason for staying silent. Unfortunately, the secrecy led to a lot of conspiracy theories. A B-47 bomber was supposed to drop the bomb into the water, but it accidentally released the bomb prematurely. If the bomb had exploded over Los Angeles, most of the city would have been vaporized. But that didn't happen. The bomb exploded over the ocean, causing minor damage to California. Now let's take a look at the damage that the tsunami caused. When the tsunami hit California, it was only about 3 feet tall. But as it moved north, it grew in size. The tsunami reached Japan on May 26, 1960. By that time, was a towering wall of water that was over 70 feet tall. But by that time, it was nothing more than a small wave. What would you do if a giant tsunami was heading toward your city? Let us know in the comments below.